Oh, there you go. So you want to become a teacher in Vietnam? Okay, I am, so it must be good. Let me tell you how. Alright, so it's the summer here in Vietnam, and I'm on holidays, well, kinda. And I'm getting ready for the new school year that starts around September, the first week in September. So people ask me, Ray, what's it like to be a teacher in Vietnam? I suppose I'll give you two answers because I love being complex. It's bloody great and it's shit, okay? Let's talk about the bloody great. If you have a genuine affection for making people's lives better, if you have a genuine affection for helping young people improve, then teaching in Vietnam, you will find rewards in that task. But if you're more of an analytical person, you know, you do the job for the job's sake, an accountant type person, I suppose, then I'm not sure if you'll find it interesting. You know, teaching in Vietnam is all about the people. And if you don't make a connection with the people that you're teaching, then it's just not the best job in the world. And I suppose that's why I've really enjoyed it for the past 13 years, is because no matter what I've done, I've always seen people improve. And, you know, personal choice, that's what makes me happy. So that's my main motivation for becoming a teacher in Vietnam. Why is it shit? So if you are like me and you come from Australia and you're used to the HR systems and the legal, the employment law and things like that in Australia, and you come to Vietnam, you're not going to like it, okay? Essentially, legally, you basically got nothing, okay? Compared to Australia, you got nothing, all right? No superannuation. Basically, most of them, except for the high-end teaching jobs, no holidays, no days off, no sick days, you know. You work, you get paid, and that's it. Albeit that the tax is lower than you would pay in countries like Australia. The way people treat you also as a public school teacher, and those basic type roles, the freelance contract type roles, you really are, you know, an expendable unit. You know, in a way, you're a bum in a seat. You go there, you do the job, get paid, you leave, and they'll usually complain and say it's not good enough, because part of Vietnamese culture in many parts is, you know, you'll never say when it's good, but you'll always say when it's bad. And I've had many knockers over the years, but I've also had a lot of people say what a wonderful job I've done. So I try to balance it out between the two and ignore the knockers and appreciate the good ones. So how do you become a teacher in Vietnam? Yeah, in Vietnam. Well, becoming a teacher in Vietnam is pretty easy. You need a degree of some kind. Okay, legally you need a degree. You need some kind of teaching certificate, TESOL, TEFL, PCGE, fucking CELTA or whatever, you know. And that's basically all you need, okay? You need to find a job. And Facebook, LinkedIn, Glassdoor, all these types of places have jobs. And you can also go to the websites as well. VUS, ILA, places like that. Apollo English. They all have websites where teachers can apply for a job. How do you do it? Well, you get the paperwork together that they require you to get, which is usually copies of your degrees and passports and visas, etc. The whole range of stuff, and you ask the HR people to get that for you when you when you apply for the job, and you have to get it all notarized, either in your home country or here in Vietnam, according to what the HR department wants. And then you come to Vietnam. Now, when you come to Vietnam, you have to come to Vietnam on a business visa, okay? If you come to Vietnam on a tourist visa, I mean, everything's great for 3 months. Why do you get a business visa, not a tourist visa? Because when you get your work permit and you apply for a TRC, you are unable to transfer a tourist visa to a TRC. You must leave the country. And also, legally, if you have a tourist visa, you cannot work a single day in Vietnam. All right, even bridging, you can't work. But if you have a business visa, you can work bridging until your TRC comes through. TRC is a temporary residence card. It's the ticket to being able to act normally in Vietnam and do normal stuff. All right, so now I want to talk to you old fellas and old girls, you people over 40 that's had a career in your home country and are thinking about making a change of life. Now, I did, okay? In Australia, I worked in management, stuff like that, for security for, 30 odd years or something it was. And I woke up one day and said, you know what, it's all over. Can't do this shit anymore. And I needed to make a change. And it's a long story, and actually I've just written a book on it. So you'll be interested to see that. And it will be out in the bookstores hopefully by next year. I'm hoping. We'll wait and see, eh? That's my big dream in life. So how do you do it? Well, you got to take some risks first up, okay? What I would suggest is that you come to Vietnam for a holiday and you get familiar with the place. Whilst you're here on a holiday, you make contact with some of the agencies that take on foreign teachers. And it's always good to do it. I would say do it, from March to June. That would be my guess. Because really July and August they're in heavily recruiting mode. So you can come in July and August, but if you're going to come as a tourist in July or August thinking you're going to start, well, it just doesn't mix up. If you're ready to go and you apply for a job in July or August, then you're in, But if you're doing a bit of a recce, if you're coming in just to check it out and make contacts, earlier in the year is better, not later. And from that, you should be able to get a pathway into it. And the main thing is, you've got to work out whether you want to be here or not. Vietnam is utopia until you realise what the joint's like, And when you work out what the joint's like, you either love it or you hate it. I had an interview for a travel magazine the other day, and I mentioned to her, Vietnam is like a girlfriend or a wife or something, a partner. You are attracted by the good things, but if you really decently and truly fall in love with that person, you fall in love with their bad things. And Vietnam is no different, Vietnam looks amazing when you come here. It's so different. But if you're really going to stay here long term and fall in love with what you have around here, you've got to fall in love with the bad things. You can't hate the bad things and say Vietnam's good, And that's what I did, I really fell in love with those bad things, the traffic, the heat, the noise, albeit that sometimes it makes me really, really angry. So that's how you get your way into teaching. Another little trick especially for older people, because there is a little bit of ageism. There's a lot of ageism in Vietnam actually, and I'll even put into ads, nobody over 35 can apply or something like that. But one of the little tricks is to not go for teaching jobs in the major cities. Everyone wants to work in Vung Tau because it's a great place to live. Everyone wants to live in Ho Chi Minh City, so it's a great place to work, you know. But if you want to really get your foot in, some of the really small towns, the small cities, can be a good option for one season. You know, you go there, they give you a room, you work, you explore the area. At the end of the teaching year, you're out of there. You know, you're either back to Ho Chi Minh City, or you're back to Hanoi or Da Nang or Vung Tau or somewhere, and it's a really temporary assignment, but it gives you the chance to get that one season as a teacher. Places like Tay Ninh is good, Can Tho, Rak Ya in a way, maybe in the south, heading north. Hanoi is the centre, and Hanoi is actually quite short on supply of teachers, so you know you can get some good stuff there. But you've got Vin City and places like that, Hai Phong, Ha Lom, and even further north up now Ing Bai and places like that. All these places have a need for a few teachers, but very, very little supply, because foreigners don't want to go and live in the boondocks, you know, and so that's a good option. You can explore those options. You'll see them on different social medias, and they can be good. Indeed, I have considered them a number of times, because I just needed a change from living in Ho Chi Minh City, but it hasn't come off as yet. Alright, so that's basically all I have to say about being a teacher in Vietnam. Now, as I said, July and August are the recruiting times. You know, you really need to get in if you're going to get in at the bottom level. If you're a qualified teacher, this video is not for you. You know, this is for the hacks like me who teach at the bottom end as a contractor and have fun doing it. I do. I've been here for 13 years. So, all right, guys, enough for me. I'm going to go keep walking. I'm An Aussie in Vietnam. See you soon. Bye-bye.